about my oh,
Yeah, so yeah, last week we were talking about understanding ourselves more and how the fact other people don't understand us. And yeah, you after the podcast, you came up with quite a lot of points about community and how we need to find our own community. Can you go on more about that?
um well, before before therapy and like counseling and services like that, we didn't have anywhere to receive unbiased advice from. So we went to our family, we went to our friends, we went to sometimes we would talk to strangers at bars or stores or places like that. And it's just interesting how now, in order to talk to a stranger, you have to be a part of a community. And I mean, having community is amazing in its own rights and its own, aspects, I suppose. But I think what we really need to work towards is being able to just talk to one another. And with with my mentoring and the coaching I've done, I always emphasize just talking. If you can just communicate with someone, whether it's your partner or a friend or um like even even an animal like Annabelle the cat right here. Um like I talk to her like she's a human, and she seems to understand me because I don't because if I choose to speak to her any other way, she looks at me funny. She's like, "What?" And so like that just shows me that if I can just speak to a cat, something that doesn't understand English, and it seems to understand me perfectly with every single word, why is it we can't talk to our neighbor about, something that might be going wrong, like because we feel as though we don't have anyone else to speak to. Why is that? Um, why is that an issue now? I mean, you have you have plenty of answers. You know how people are raised, how people are not only raised, but how people choose to continue to raise themselves, how people continue to carry themselves, what enables them to continue thinking that raising themselves in that way is good. Now, we can also break that down to what is good and what is bad. I mean, I don't know what's good and what's bad, but I know what's correct and what's incorrect, what's right and what's wrong. I mean, we can sit here and argue about your truth, your opinion, my opinion, but I've I have ended many arguments by simply stating that telling me that that's what I'm telling you is wrong simply because you feel like it's not right goes against all understanding of the trees we see every day, or the cats we talk to every day, or the shoes we put on every day. Like, I end arguments with people by simply stating the truth. Like, there is no need, if you're talking to another person, to embellish, to beat around the bush, to add, take away. If you are simply just trying to reconcile an issue with someone, why not talk about the truth? Why not put your pride and your ego aside? That's what's causing the anxiety. You're acting out of who you really are, which is someone who's just naturally anxious and nervous, or maybe someone who's naturally boisterous and confident, but you're suppressing that. Whatever it might be, you're not being who you are, so you're going to be anxious. Another reason why you get anxious is because of how we were raised, bringing us all the way back to my original point. The reason why people can't talk to one another is because, again, parents are not taking accountability. And we're realizing too late that parents need to be taking accountability. Because most of these parents have already raised their kids, are already um into whatever parenting groove they're in, whatever habits they've prepared for themselves. I mean, like anyone that I mentor or coach or help, I go immediately to what is your relationship with your parents? Because
Yeah,
it's
because
that.
it's that connection. I mean, I think that's the thing with community.
Yes.
It's that the ability to
An
connect, and
honest, unconditional
yeah.
connection.
And if we're masking and we're pretending to be someone else, we can't connect because all they'll connect with is the mask.
No.
That's all they're going to get.
I mean, I understand why we mask. We have valid reasons to
Mhm.
mask. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
it's self-preservation, survival and all that. But I mean, it comes to a point where are you going to mask around every single person because you're afraid that every single person is going to treat you like the last? That's kind of unfair to not only yourself, but to everyone else. There could be someone out there that's damn near perfect for you. However, you're allowing this fear within you, this anxiety within you, run your life. And so instead of you controlling the anxiety, it's the anxiety controlling you. And yet, I don't know, this would be the same individual to say that they are so confident in themselves. If you were confident in themselves, you would be able to overcome this fear you have. But instead, you ignore the fear, thus amplifying the fear. You are not willing to sit with this emotion, this feeling you have, this thought. You're not willing to sit with it. You're not willing to talk to it and figure it out. So of course it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger until finally one day something traumatic is gonna happen for you to finally change. And it's like, why not allow someone like me to come in and help you speak to someone else, whether it be your friend, family, or a stranger, so that you don't reach that point with your anxiety? Because
yeah.
that's realistic. I'm not it's, you see it. You don't even have to read a psychology book to know that to be true. All you got to do is go outside every single day for a month and watch people. You will see that. You will see how
Oh
people are.
yeah, and I mean,
Like,
it drives me crazy that we're told, oh, autistics don't like to connect with people. They don't want to
mm,
socialize. They're
we
antisocial
just
people.
don't trust people anymore. We can't
Yeah.
trust people anymore. No one, because why are we going to trust someone who isn't honest? Someone
Hmm.
who would rather pander around the point than just get directly to it? Why are we going to trust someone who can hardly trust themselves, thus, instigating the anxiety with themselves and with their connection with me or you or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And
It
trusting
just
people to
keeps
treat us
going.
with care and kindness. I mean, there's a
Unconditional love. It all comes back to unconditional love. You know,
mhm.
I a lot of people, a lot of people. I don't consider myself a Christian, but I do read the Bible. I've read some of the Buddhist scrolls. I can't remember their names. The I don't remember their names because I'm probably going to
I'm
butcher it.
terrible for remembering
I've
names.
read the Quran. Like I've I've read Marcus Aurelius and Aristotle and Socrates, and like I have tried my best to understand people and why they choose to,
I mean,
you know,
maybe it's down to parenting, you know. I mean, I was raised in a conditional family that I love you if you behave a certain way. I love you if you act a certain way. I love
it
you
is so
if you're a
funny.
good girl. If you're not a good girl, then I can't love you. Um,
A lot of us here are raised in Christian families. You know, if people spent a little bit of time reading the Bible, just a little bit. There's four books: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're called the Gospels because they're supposedly the personal and intimate accounts of Jesus, as well as Ephesians and some of the other books that I haven't personally read yet because I haven't gotten to them. But it's so funny that people here chant Jesus, go to church, wear a cross, but can't even do the one thing that Jesus speaks profusely about throughout the entire New Testament, which is unconditional love.
yeah,
You know, it's you don't gotta believe in God, just unconditionally love
yeah,
yourself and
it's
other people.
so important. I mean, one of my young person's
It's
favorite games when he was
that's
small.
the solution to everything.
Yeah,
That's the solution.
yeah. I mean, my young person's favorite game when she was small. One of them was "Will you still love me if?" And she would, you know, they would think of all sorts of scenarios that they thought were absolutely terrible. So, you know, would start with things like, would you still love me if I make a mess? Would you still love me if I scream in your face? And, you know, it progressed to things like, would you still love me if I killed you, stomped on your body, and fed you to the dogs? And you're going, well, yeah, the dead bit could be a bit tricky, but
Right.
yeah, I still love you. No matter what you do, no matter your actions, I will still love you. It's unconditional. There is nothing you can do ever, ever, ever that mean I don't love you. I may
I
disapprove of what you've done. I may say, look, you could do this bit better. Here's how to do this differently. This is how you can fix something if you've done some damage. But I will love you unconditionally, no matter what. And it's, you know, for me, it's the core tenet of parenting. But for a lot of traditional parenting, it's not. And I think we've lost that in society. I think we've lost that unconditional.
My mother, when I came home, would get upset anytime I wanted to do something other than what she wanted to do. But she would always try to spin it around as me just not wanting to. Like, there's so many things now that I think that I can clearly think about it. That
Yeah.
like my father, he wasn't even there. He was physically there.
Mm.
He will sit there and argue with you that he was there. But like a handful of times I can say we actually sat down and talked and talked about my issues and things. Otherwise, he was just trying to make her happy. And then she
Yeah.
was trying to make him happy, all while so they're both mistreating me and my sister, expecting me and my sister to turn out to be functional human beings and appreciate them for how they're treating us. And
Oh,
now they don't talk to either one of their kids. Or maybe they talk to my sister, but they don't talk to me because I
yeah.
don't talk to
And then
them.
they go, why don't you contact me? And I'm thinking, well, it's not exactly a
No,
connecting experience. And if it's not a connecting experience, why would I do it?
it it is not an unconditional experience. The last time I saw my father, he tried to give me God knows how much money. I don't know. He just pulled a whole wad of money out of his wallet I looked at him and I said, "Why are you giving me this?" Because I knew it wasn't unconditional. I knew there was a reason. I knew
Hmm.
because as soon as I started speaking, as soon as I opened my mouth, his face changed, his shoulders tightened up, and he grabbed the money and walked off. Didn't even look back or say anything. That's 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 when you have a little kid for a parent who can't sit there and talk to you.
Yeah.
And then my mother's doing the same thing, just standing there, trying to hold her composure, her smile, but no. So you say the truth long enough, everyone who doesn't believe in it is gone. And so it's things like that that create discrepancies in the social world.
Mm.
Like why is it so hard for a parent to be honest to their child? Why is it so hard for me to say, you know what? I did fuck up a little bit raising you. You know, I messed up so much. Can we sit down and talk about it so that we can move on? Like, why is that so hard? Oh my God. If
It,
I heard that as the child, yes, definitely. Let's go to a bar. I don't
yeah.
drink, but I know you do. I know you enjoy your beers and your rum, so let's go have a couple drinks. Let's
Yeah.
talk.
And I mean, that
But
was
I
my,
don't get that.
yeah, I don't, I mean, there's a thing I would love to hear from mine, but I'm never going to. But it's the one thing, I mean, as a parent, mucked up a lot. I made mistakes. I got things wrong. I caused damage. There's absolutely no getting around that. But the one thing my young person said that I did 100% right was always acknowledge and apologize and try and repair the damage. If there was ways of changing what I was doing, if there was ways of fixing the damage, but
Because
always
if you
acknowledge the
don't
mistake.
rectify, if you don't resolve, if you don't fix, you take that with you to your grave. And whether you believe
Mm,
in a higher power or not, I don't know. Like, I don't know what people believe in nowadays, but that is not something you want to die with.
no,
Because if you don't believe in an afterlife and you just believe you're just dead and gone, I don't know. That's you.
I
If
mean,
you go to your grave having mistreated like beings, souls you brought into this world, you don't have to be religious to know that oh yeah, that person's gonna come back as a cockroach or something. Like, you know, it's like how can you say that you, having mistreated so many people in your life, are going to die peacefully? No, that's not how life works.
no. And
That's not how the world works. You like even going to your deathbed, you are going to suffer unless you recognize what you've done wrong and apologize and mean it.
and I mean, I
But
think
but most people can't. Most
no,
parents can't because they're too prideful.
and
They're too selfish, and
too
that's
much,
another
yeah,
thing.
and too much trauma too. I think because think of the number of times when you're a kid and you're made to apologize, and it is as fake as, oh yeah, I was going to use the F word, but no, I won't because this is a podcast. But it's fake.
Well, I need to start
Say you're sorry.
watching my mouth.
Yeah, say you're sorry and mean it. Say you're sorry and make it sound like you mean it. Um, at the time, you were still mad. You were not sorry at all. You were really glad that you got that hit off. You're really glad that that person who hurt you got hurt back. Um, but you're made to do it, and you're made to feel a bad person for you're a terrible person.
That's called reactive abuse.
Yeah,
That's called reactive abuse.
yeah.
That's actually
So now
been
apologize.
proven.
And I think a lot of people carry that with them. So when they're then asked to apologize as an adult, all of that childhood trauma of being the bad child, being the person who is now hated by their parent until they apologize, um, comes back, and they can't do it because the trauma's too big. But
See, there
we can break it. We can break it.
we we exist in a time of information. So there's, I don't know. I've had a few people try to argue me that trauma is a valid excuse for treating other people badly. No, it
It's not an
it is
excuse.
not
It's a
an
reason.
excuse.
But the thing is, if you know the reason, you can address the reason and you can repair the reason.
Correct. And people choose not to. So for them to say, "Oh, I'm just traumatized. That's why I treat people bad." Okay, you know what's wrong with you then. So why haven't you changed?
Yeah.
Like
Where are you
it's
going to
as
fix
simple
it?
as that.
Where are you doing the work to do that?
And so they choose not to. So then it becomes an excuse. It becomes them just trying to dismiss their horrible behavior as, oh, it's just trauma. No, no. So I, I don't know.
Yeah.
I, I have, at that point, you can't control people. So all I do is I try to prepare people for people like that.
Mm.
For the narcissists, the manipulators, the people who have serious issues but continue to repress and ignore because they feel like they have better things to do, like make money, have sex, do drugs, do this, do that, whatever else they believe is
Yeah.
more important than working on their mental health.
And I mean, it's, I mean, it was a big penny drop for me growing. Well, I must have been in my nearly 50s before I realized about boundaries weren't about telling other people this is where my boundary is and expecting them to respect it. Is about me
Mhm.
identifying where my boundaries is and enforcing them for myself. So if, you know, somebody started tearing me apart, telling me what a terrible parent I am, or whatever that, if I did not feel that their criticism had validity, and sometimes it did, let's be honest, sometimes it did, but if it didn't have validity, I'd walk away. And before I go, please stop doing that. I don't like it. I want you to stop doing that. Well, if they're in a role, they're not going to stop doing that. Scorpions sting. They'll keep on doing it. But what you can do in your own power is walk away from that and just go, no.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you may not be able to help this right now because you aren't dealing with your trauma, but I'm not going to go around cuddling scorpions because I know they sting. They're gonna sting me, so I'm gonna walk away and just leave it be.
Yeah, if I'm talking to someone and it seems like, I don't know, as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that mommy and daddy issues, those titles, I hate titles in general, but we, but personally, mommy and daddy issues are very real. I just have to figure out like new ways of describing those types of issues coming from, it should just be parental issues.
Mm,
Like it should just be parental issues or issues that stem from parents
hmm.
because it's a long laundry list of them. And so no, but people like that I stay away from. And there's a lot of signs you can look out for, like how they smile, how they laugh, um how they respond, how quickly they respond, how slowly they respond, how thoroughly they respond, how thorough their
Mm.
responses are. I think I was gonna say that.
And I mean, one
I
of
don't
the
know.
problems is they do target
Body
what they,
language.
you know, they will target someone like an autistic who is an autistic who's been trained into fawn and has been trained into
People
following somebody
pleasing.
else.
People pleasing.
Yeah,
Yep.
we are
I've met quite a
extremely
few
vulnerable to
autistics.
those scorpions
Yes. Hmm.
because they will use that people pleasing. You'll do this if you love me. I thought you loved me. Why aren't you doing this?
See, but then there are. individuals, there are certain autistics who are like, there's a few of them that are like super empaths who can train a scorpion to be peaceful. I've met one of them, and just the way that this individual read me was just like within a few minutes, and I thought I was phenomenal at reading people. This person just like it was how intimate they got with analyzing. Because usually when I analyze people, I want to know the feelings behind their behaviors. I don't want to just know the behaviors. Behaviors are very easy to learn. What's difficult to learn are the emotions behind those actions. Because when you're dealing with humans, actions are always fueled by emotion, whether it's a
Hmm.
good one or a bad one. If you have no emotion and you're killing an animal, you're a psychopath, and you need to be looked at. I'm not, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but that's just the truth. If you can look at a cat and stare at it with no emotion while you're literally cutting its leg off, yeah, there's something going on with you,
Yeah,
and
there's a
that's
disconnect there that's happened, that's gone.
absolutely, absolutely. So, but with, but I don't know. It's this individual was so intimate, and so that gave me hope that maybe like because after talking to this individual about how they were able to not change this narcissist, but get this narcissist to not be a narcissist anymore. Because narcissism is, I mean, it's not, you're not permanently a narcissist. You just choose to be selfish, which inhibits all the other things that come with being a narcissist, which can then turn into habits if they're permanent enough in your life, which will then make sure that you never become anything else but a
And
narcissist.
and it's not
However,
addressing.
if you're talking to someone who is emotionally aware enough of the truth and how to deliver it, you can actually, because so one thing a narcissist thrives off of is attention. So why not play their own game while also still getting the desired results?
But I mean, again, remember,
You give
narcissism
them,
is a mental health. It is a mental health condition, and it's
it is a
anxiety
mental health
driven.
condition, right? And like anxiety or any other mental health condition, it can be worked on.
Absolutely.
It,
And I mean, there
and
are
so,
people, as you said, who are diagnosed narcissistic but do not enact
no.
narcissistic behaviors because they are aware of what's going on. They have mechanisms and they have strategies now in order to put in place to counteract their behavior.
Hmm.
But you've got to see it, until you are willing to see it and until you're willing to see what you've done, you can't do that. And you know, that's when the damage happens. The people who refuse to acknowledge that there's an issue.
The people who refuse to acknowledge the truth, regardless if it's their issue or not. Because if you ignore the truth, it will become an issue. So whether it is your issue or not, if you choose to ignore it, you're bringing that onto yourself.
I mean, it can be, I know when I was younger, I did ignore quite a lot of things because either it really forced me to realize how much I hated myself at the time, um, which was a painful acknowledgement at the time, and I didn't want that much pain. And I mean, because the thing is, until I recognized why I hated myself, I couldn't actually fix and actually address whether the reasons I hated myself was truth or not. I just sort of accepted it as I was a hateful person and I was someone who didn't deserve to have friends and everything else. But I didn't deal with it because I didn't want to go there. So there's always that fear of looking into the dark that stops people looking. And sometimes it's not having a strategy. You know, what's the point in looking if it's not going to change anything? If you haven't got any strategies if you look and you have no strategies to move forward, what's the point in looking? But the thing is, there
No,
are strategies, and until you look, you won't know what strategies you need.
really, you can't start to you have to address the problem to first. First you have to acknowledge that there is an issue. You have to be willing to acknowledge that there is an issue that needs to be fixed. And you need to be able to acknowledge that you have to fix the issue. And most people aren't willing to even do those three things before moving on to, okay, so let's gather information, let's gather some tools. Who are we going to need? What are we going to need?
Mm-hmm.
You can't first acknowledge the issue. You can't first acknowledge that the issue is within you. You can't first acknowledge that the issue is for you to fix. And I don't know, cause people are lazy. Like people, no, I wouldn't say lazy, but like I feel like if people are traumatized and sit in that trauma for so long, they get comfortable, which causes the laziness, which causes the low motivation and wanting
Oh yeah, I
to
mean
get help.
the fear of change is huge.
I don't know.
You
I
know, I
think
mean, I
sometimes
stayed in a
sometimes it isn't a
relationship,
fear.
you know, that was not healthy for me for a decade because the fear of what would be something else, the new, stopped me moving. Um, it was for me, you know, the way I was treated was familiar from childhood. I'd accepted it was my due, that I deserved this. And a little bit of me knew this wasn't true, but to change that, to open that door, and step out into the unknown is scary. It's terrifying. And knowing it's necessary doesn't necessarily help deal with the terrifying. But you know, it is so important to do. It's essential to do. But you need to face that fear and do it.
Yes, knowing is taking the first step. You might be afraid of it, but it is the essential first step. If you are not willing to take that first step, you will never ever solve the issue. The
No.
issue will always persist, the issue will always be present. However you want to put it, it's you have to address the issue. You have to look within yourself and say what is being triggered, what is being affected, what is being touched,
Mm-hmm.
what is what.
You know, it's like I meet, you know, online you see a lot of people go, I hate being autistic, or I hate autism. Autism has ruined all these things for my life. And you know, but there's nothing I can do because autism is set. But the thing is, that's not true. Is when you understand how your autistic brain works, when you open that door, when you walk through that door and have a proper look, you can change everything. But
Hmm.
you've got to, as you said, you can't just sit going, well, what can I do? There is always something to do. It's just finding the right person to talk to about it. I mean, like, you know, go talk to yourself. um that doesn't sound right, but you know, but finding a mentor like yourself, to talk to and process it through, who can hold your hand in the dark, hold your hand as you go through that new door and you're scared, is so important. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense.
Yes.
So I think we're just about on time. Shall I? Okay, I'm going to hit. Who says? I'm trying to find it now. There we are.